Hello and welcome back to The Warrens. I am Fredrik Knudsen. I am, once again, joined by the unflappable Jabroni Mike.
Hey guys, Fred, what does unflappable mean?
Unflappable? Like, your mood can't be dampened.
I thought it just meant like you're not a bird.
Like you can't
you
be
say that about
bothered. You know
somebody.
what? Why don't I check? Maybe
Unflappable.
there's an etymology. Yeah, having or showing calmness in a crisis.
Oh,
There
that
we
does
go.
not sound accurate.
Okay, yeah, no, never mind. I feel like
Unflappable.
I mean this with absolutely no offense, but if shit's going down, you are the first one to freak out,
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm a freak.
right? Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like we learned that a zombie apocalypse is happening, and like my first reaction isn't to start boarding up the windows and doors. It's to like chain you to the radiator.
You know I'm going to start flapping the second I hear about the
Right,
zombie
exactly.
outbreak. I'm going to start flapping. Yeah, I am not. Yeah, unflappable would not be an adjective I'd use. But thank you.
Of course, and we have a lot to get to today. Because today we are going to be talking about something that I got to experience personally, and it is public knowledge, and in fact, when you are listening to this, the episode might be out already, but I am currently working on an episode about a battle in Foxhole, which is a unique game that we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. There have been a few videos in between that we've been doing, but that is happening. This will probably come out before that video, significantly before that video.
Fred's working on a Foxhole, Warrens, and now we're doing did I get it backwards? Fred's working on a Foxhole rabbit hole, just like a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tongue twister there, and he's also working on the. We're doing this podcast on the game as well.
Yeah.
Foxhole. So I want to just get this out of the way early. Obligatory insert furry joke here, and now for the rest of this podcast we don't have to worry about it. It's out of the way.
Everyone's seen the meme. There is one meme in particular that everyone refers to. For those who are just listening, it is a Steam review from a reviewer named Fluffy Furries, and the review reads in its entirety, "This game is not what I thought it was going to be." And then there's a furry with a 1,000-yard stare in the trenches surrounded by humans with conventional arms.
Well, hey, maybe he just lacks the imagination to make it into the experience he was looking for.
Yeah, right? I mean, there are mods. You can mod the game.
Yeah, there you go.
Fun fact. Yeah. Most people make it into Star Wars or something like that, but I don't know, man. You could make some busty furry babes.
Make it into a Zootopia police riot or whatever.
Ooh.
Zootopia
There you go.
violent protest. Sorry. It's fucked up. So
Before we get started with the episode proper, however, I would like to address a couple of things that I got wrong in the last Warrens, which was about CES. It was very loose. I knew that I was going to get a few things wrong, and I'm sure I got other things wrong, but I made the profound accident of discussing anything related to automobiles, because I activated a few car nerds.
oh no.
Car nerds are their own breed, and so there are two clarifications that I want to make about the last video. First of all, I brought up the failed 3-wheeled car that was being sold when the energy crisis was occurring in the 70s, or it didn't sell. Actually, that's part of the scandal, is it didn't sell. It was effectively a scam. And the scammer ran off with the money and went into hiding. I mentioned that the creator, the originator, not the creator, but the person who tried to sell it, who took this idea and tried to sell it, went into hiding and changed genders in order to avoid litigation. Turns out the person was just regular trans. Like, not hiding trans, just regular trans, and was trans when she started selling these things. So the mix-up, I was just repeating what I had heard some years ago. I think the mix-up came because she did assume a false identity after she ran off with the money in order to hide. And so I think that the person who was telling the story to me got that mixed up. So, got that wrong. The other thing is more of a clarification.
It was like they talk about trans rights, but I think we're looking at a case of a trans wrong here in her case.
Yeah. Allow everyone, right? Like, everyone can do wrongs here.
Fred, when will you learn that your mistakes do not exist until you acknowledge them officially? You gotta get on this, like, people talking in the comments about how, you were wrong about this, you were wrong about that. You just have to say, like, stop being virgins and move on. Like, I really think you need to get to that headspace. You got to get there. You got to find a way. You find your way there, bud. Just stubbornly, refuse to acknowledge reality, and you're gonna go a long way, kid. It's worked for me so far.
This is why I struggled so hard with streaming. I feel like this is streamer advice more than anything. Like, this is how streamers make their way in the world.
This is not streamer
streamers
advice.
Are the ones who never acknowledge any mistake.
That might be true, but I was just trying to be a dick when I said that. Personally, that wasn't genuine.
The problem is that it's good advice for content creators. Good thing I'm not a good content creator, right?
Well, they do say you're not supposed to show weakness, which
right. Well, I'll show weakness one more time by making another clarification. I mentioned that there are not a lot of savings to be had with consumer cars in terms of aerodynamics. I think that I might have misspoke a bit, and the point I was making wasn't that aerodynamics isn't important, right? You can get a lot of energy savings by having an aerodynamic vehicle. The point I was making was that the car we were looking at was boasting about how much energy savings it was getting from being more aerodynamic. And it's like, bragging about your car being aerodynamic is kind of like bragging about your cup's ability to hold liquid. It's like, yeah, they all kind of do that.
It's like I should hope so, right?
Bragging about it's not the flex you think it is.
Yeah. This is a bare minimum functionality of the thing to an extent, like
right. It's just kind of expected.
It's not that impressive.
No, like, no one's impressed by it. The only people who are impressed by it are people who aren't car people, and the investors, right? Tech investors. They're not pitching that car to automobile investors. They're pitching it to tech investors who are impressed by fancy words like aerodynamics, who don't know that consumer vehicles are all generally pretty aerodynamic nowadays. Oh, and also, those little solar cells aren't intended to charge the thing all the way. It's just supposed to be supplementary. My annoyance at solar-powered cars still stands, however.
Even if it's supplementary, what do you think the actual percentage is from, like, traditional fuel to, like, what they're getting from the solar panels? It's got to be a decimal.
You know what?
It's got to be a decimal.
I am not falling into the trap of discussing cars further.
Yeah.
Without having all of my ducks in a row.
Well, I think your point was
that is a mistake. They will jump down your throat.
Yeah, like it did last time. But aerodynamics, in this case, was a buzzword. That's his point.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Anyways, that was all I wanted to get out of the way before we got to our main topic, which is the free state of the fingers.
Oh, the fingers.
Yeah. The fingers.
Well, we didn't want to call it like Fingerstan, Fingertopia, Fingervania,
Fingervania would have been good.
Fingertoria.
It's the free state of the fingers, and I think you'll understand why in a minute.
But first, there's a region in from the hit book series, The Song of Ice and Fire, in the continent of Westeros. There's an important political region known as the Fingers.
Well, it's funny that you mention that, because it does resemble the fingers from A Song of Ice and Fire quite a bit.
Oh, does it?
And in fact, their existence might be a reference to A Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones.
On the part of the devs.
It might be a reference from the devs. It could be. And just based on how they look, right? They look very similar. And in fact, what makes them so tactically strong is the same as Game of Thrones.
They're isolated like peninsulas that you can only get to by sea, is what it was in Game of Thrones anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
By the way, can I correct myself? I said politically important, but they actually were kind of irrelevant in Game of Thrones, which is why
Was it?
Do you remember the character Littlefinger?
Yeah, like he's named that because
he's from
of the fingers,
he's
right?
from one of the fingers, and again his rise to prominence was like impressive in the story because he came from a place that was irrelevant, and he was from an irrelevant family and everything. But I'm not gonna nerd about Game of Thrones anymore. My audience hearing this right now is rolling their eyes so fucking hard, like
Dude,
it's audible.
Actually, this is amazing. This is amazing because the Free State of the Fingers was also largely irrelevant. But we'll get to that in a minute. And I'm sure that there are some people who maybe participated in War 110 in Foxhole, who maybe saw the fingers and they said, "What are you talking about? Like, it was a big deal." We'll get to it. There are some people may not necessarily realize everything about it, and so I get to nerd out about my own little thing, right? Your thing is nerding out about A Song of Ice and Fire. My thing is nerding out about Foxhole. Everyone's like, "All right, everyone, come back in 30 minutes." Right?
Yeah,
Once
that's
done
the
talking
vibe.
about Foxhole.
Exactly. Next episode we do a Song of Ice and Fire nerd out that no one will listen to, but I get to fucking ramble for an hour. How's that sound?
Yeah, and it's just Mike in great detail describing the shadow assassin crawling out of a coochie, right? Like describing the coochie in loving detail.
That was one of the best parts of the books. Anyway, so Foxhole. Go ahead, Fred. I'm sorry.
So Foxhole is a very unique game. It is a top-down shooter sandbox MMO. That sounds insane, but bear with me. It is interwar period themed, so we're talking World War I, World War II style equipment, not actual equipment. Some of the guns and the vehicles are very clearly based on real-life counterparts, but they are not the actual thing, right? You pick one of two sides, and you fight. You spend, like, anywhere from days to weeks fighting in a war, and then once one side has claimed enough victory towns to meet the victory conditions, you get a few days rest, and then new starting conditions are established by the developers, and then you go again. And in between wars, you can swap sides if you want. You have people who swap sides every so often to try out new equipment. You have faction loyalists like myself.
So there's a kind of a dungeon mastering thing happening with the devs. They're doing a little.
Not very much.
Okay. So they're more
very
hands-off,
limited.
Very
with it. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
very,
cool.
very limited. A lot of it is randomized, presumably. A lot of it is just them saying, all right, you start here. The starting positions tend to be very similar much of the time. The Wardens tend to start in the north. The Colonials start in the south, usually, right?
Yeah.
But once it is started, the players do everything themselves. The devs have very little, if any, hand in anything else that happens. If there's some sort of major server problem, maybe they'll reset things to a certain state, but that's quite rare.
There's two factions?
Yes, the Wardens and the Colonials. Blue and green.
Is there lore, or is it just kind of like you kind of make it up in your head, your own headcanon?
The lore is distressingly deep.
Oh.
I have not even scratch the surface of it, but there is a wild amount of lore to Foxhole for some reason.
And it is a fantasy world, right? It's not
right. It is not the real world. Yeah, it is a fantasy world, and things are kind of wild, right? Like, it gets kind of wild. I don't want to touch it because I'm, similar thing to talking about automobiles, right? Car people, right? There are lore people in Foxhole who are going to be like, well, actually, Callahan.
Actually, you just enjoy the game. You're not really digging into
the game.
Sure, that side of it.
Yeah. Okay, it's very fun. If it sounds interesting at all to you, I would highly recommend it. There's no subscription fee. It's a one-time fee. You buy in and then you play. It is very unique. in the sense that all equipment that includes vehicles, guns, ammunition, equipment and spawn tickets as well. Because you die, you respawn back at a base, but you can't spawn at the base without a shirt, a soldier's supply. All of that has to be produced and shipped to the front line by players.
Yes, this I remember you telling me about.
Along with a lot of other buildings that you can make and entrenchments. All of this, a significant amount of it is made by players, but we'll get into that a little bit.
It sort of sounds like one of the things that makes this game gives it like its character and makes it stand out. It's the supply chain element of things where you have to have a certain amount of players on like basically manufacturing and logistics of getting those things that get made to, I guess, the front lines or embattlements.
Right, exactly. And it also provides a new victory condition. If you can cut off a bunker base or a town hall from its logistics, then you can bleed the enemy dry.
Right, it's like a siege or like a gambit. Like you take that, they can't get anything new in there, then you just wait them out.
Right, exactly. And that is a major part of the game. I personally am a logistician. I don't tend to fight, right? There are some people who do nothing but fight. Our soldiers on the front lines. You have specialists who maybe are really into tanks and or maybe into naval combat, which is relatively new compared to what we will be talking about. Some people like me never go into combat, almost never. They just are on the back lines and ship things forward. They're part of this supply chain to keep the fight going, and it's great, right? Like, there's so much variance in the game. It is definitely a niche game, but it is significantly more accessible than a lot of games like it. I would call this about a quarter of an EVE Online.
Sure. Well, how many people? There's servers, right? Like regional servers?
It's all done on Steam. No, everyone is on one server.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So how many, like what's the player cap?
Let me see. You know what? I'm pulling up Steam charts right now, but it's decent. 30-day average over the last 30 days is about 3,000. And it definitely goes up and down. The player count it goes up and down depending on if there's been an update recently, or if a war is a break war for a lot of people, right? People will... organizations, clans, they'll tend to go hard on one war, and then they'll say, okay, to keep all of our members from burning out, we're just going to take a break war. We're not going to do any big organizational stuff. We're just going to vibe. If you want to play, hop on, but we're not going to organize anything. Relax, and we'll go hard the war after this one. And so a lot of groups tend to do that all at once. Right? If there's been a particularly intense war, then a lot of groups will all at once say, all right, we're not going to organize anything. If you want to play on your own, go for it, but we're not doing it, and then we'll come back the war after this one. And the game's population, pretty stable and pretty strong, right? It's a niche audience. You're not getting the tens of thousands that a lot of other MMOs get.
But they play the shit out of it.
Right. Over the last, it's been going for, 8 years?
Oh, no way. I didn't know this game was that old.
Tests. It started, I think that the release was in 2021. Started out with 2,000 people the first month with the major release, and then it kind of went down. So we're actually at 4 years after launch, it's doing better than it did at launch. So,
well, it's a live service thing
cool.
that helps, right?
That helps. They're constantly adding new things, and this is concurrent, right? Average concurrent players.
Yeah, sure. That's awesome.
So it's good. It is a pretty healthy game. And the dev team are currently working on another game, but I'm not here to pitch their games, right? We're here to talk about something that happened in one of their games. I love it, right? Obviously, I love Foxhole. It's kind of one of my games that I return to.
I get the impression you might like this game to an extent. Yeah.
I like this game.
Yeah.
I like this game. I think it's cool. Give it a shot. So, I have 3 pages of notes to go through, and we've just talked a little bit about the game. We might have to trim this part down a little bit. But those are the basics of the gameplay, right? You consume stuff, and that stuff has to be made and shipped forward by players. And in order to win, you have to capture a certain number of town halls. And there's one in each hex. The map is divided up into a number of hexes. And you capture enough of them, you win.
So how long does it usually take for one of these, like a war to play out?
It varies. It can be anywhere from a week to, well, actually, War 110, when it occurred, was the longest war to have ever happened in the game, 43 days.
And this is the thing we're talking about today. This is the topic that
yes,
we're
yes, this is the war that we were talking about. Well, the place specifically, not the entire war. We're talking about one particular place.
It was one hex.
One hex. We are talking about
okay.
a single hex.
Okay.
Because it is fascinating. Nothing like it has happened since, and I doubt that anything like it will happen again because of some very peculiar starting positions that the devs decided to make. But yes, this war lasted 43 days straight, and I should note that this is a perpetual war, right? Like, there is no downtime. The servers are always up. So there is constant fighting.
But I imagine it's one of those things where you got people in different time zones sort of like almost working in shifts.
Correct.
To keep it going.
Correct.
It's one of those games you should be getting paid to play, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Foxhole is kind of an interesting game because unlike EVE Online, some people take it quite seriously, but most people, the general rule is life comes first for most people who play it, right? Like this is a game that will...
They have a more healthy kind of attitude towards it.
I would say generally, right?
Generally.
If you're comparing it to something like EVE Online, right? I would say that on average, people have a healthier relationship to Foxhole than they do EVE Online.
Based on your EVE Online video, I would say that was it's the actual inverse mantra that the game comes first for most of those people. Like I would imagine like people got divorced and their kids don't talk to them and they like defaulted on loans over EVE Online. Like I can see that, you know.
I will go as far as to say that it is a statistical certainty.
Certainty, yeah, right. I know that's true for probably almost any MMO has a degree of that, but I don't think anybody has it.
Yes.
I don't think there's one more so than EVE Online, right?
Right, yeah. I think it's unfair, right? Comparing any MMO to EVE.
Yeah, you just kind of can't.
To EVE. I enjoyed my time in EVE, right? I quite enjoyed it, and I occasionally consider going back because it's fun.
Yeah.
EVE's great.
Yeah.
But it definitely, like, Foxhole is a lot more casual comparatively. Now, the war we are going to be talking about is War 110. There have been 125 wars so far. We are talking about War 110.
This is relatively recent.
It was, relatively, it was last year.
Okay.
Last year? It might have been the year before. Wars have gotten a lot longer as time has gone on.
Well, actually, I'm looking at dates on the video you have pulled up. It says January 10th to February 23rd of probably this year.
It was the beginning of 2024.
Oh, last year.
So,
okay,
so it was last year.
It's the beginning of last year.
So this was at the very beginning of last year. Yes. And I did participate in this war. In fact, I was stationed in Endless Shore, the hex right next to the Fingers. We'll get to that.
And that's where you were assigned by your faction, or it was just kind of like what the game, like where you spawned, or
that's where my regiment decided to make our back line. Yeah, that's what we were doing. But we'll get to what we mean by backline and frontline in a minute. But War 110, I have notes. I'm going to make sure to hit everything. War 110 was the third war with big naval ships, right? There were small naval ships, but this was the third war after they did a really big naval overhaul. And one of the big things they did was add ocean hexes that are mostly water, and you need to use boats to get from one place to another to do much in these hexes. Notably, these island hexes don't have victory towns, right? Their town halls they don't have victory points associated with them. So you could theoretically completely ignore the island hexes and still achieve total victory.
It's a shame. No sea lands.
It can be useful to have these island hexes, mostly because they act as really good staging points for cutting off logistics. Having control of the oceans is quite a boon, right? But It's not the end of the world. Also important to note, nowadays you can wrap around from one ocean to the other, right? Like you can wrap
circumnavigate
from the west side to the east side and vice versa. Yeah.
It's not a flat hole.
This was not available. Yeah, this is very important. You could not do that this war.
Before they had implemented that, so it becomes relevant. So you're showing me a map right now.
Right.
I was assuming that the two colors, green and blue, were denoting the currently held territory of the two factions. But is the blue water?
No, the blue is the warden-held territory.
So I was right initially. Okay.
Correct. Wardens are sometimes referred to as blueberries, whereas the colonials, who are the greens, are called goblins.
Okay, so are there water hexes on this map?
Yes, there are, and they're all the way on the far right and the far left.
And so your regiment was stationed in a coastal hex, essentially.
Correct. Very much. The hex itself is called Endless Shore for a reason.
I can see it right there. That's okay. So that's the one. You were right next to that.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that you might notice is that it's a little peculiar, right? Because the wardens have like a hex and a half of the ocean hexes in the back line of the colonials. And the colonials have a hex and a half in the back line of the wardens on the ocean hexes. That's a little weird.
So you're talking about the hex that says Tempest Island?
Yeah, Tempest Island, and just south of it is the Fingers.
So to me, I would say, like, okay, so that's being contested.
I think the idea of the developers was, okay, you get to hold this spot for a little while, and, like, you have to submit resources to try to, like, hold this hex as long as you can. They'll fight for it, but eventually, the side who owns the majority of the territory, they'll go ahead and take it, and then we'll end up with a pretty normal war. And usually you end up with a north-south war. This one's a little bit weirder because the line goes from northwest to southeast, but still the same basic idea, right? Wardens mostly in the north, colonials mostly in the south, and as you might expect, Fisherman's Row and Oarbreaker Isles, the islands, the ocean hexes that the wardens were controlling, fell quite quickly. And at the beginning of the war, it looked like the same was going to happen in the east. Tempest Island fell quickly. The Fingers did not. The Fingers held on.
Yes, you were stationed in that Tempest Island with your regiment.
No, I was stationed in Endless Shore.
Endless Shore, right.
Endless Shore was a backline hex.
Yeah.
We'll get to it in a minute, but it was a production hub. It's where a lot of the production is. And so we presumed, right, having enemies in our backline, because you can spawn anywhere from a home region, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to spawn at the Fingers. If you hold that region and there are spawn tickets, right, you can spawn there. Actually, you don't even need spawn tickets to spawn there when you're just loading into the game. So we presumed, right, the Fingers would, and it was reasonable to assume, everyone assumed, that the Fingers would be a really good staging area for partisans to come in and start messing with our backline and disrupting production.
Yeah, seems reasonable. It's what I would have did.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. Well, there's a big question mark, though. It's like, why the Fingers, right? Why did the Wardens lose Oarbreaker Isles and Fisherman's Row in the very beginning, but the Colonials were able to hold on to the Fingers over the first few days? Well, the Fingers is an absolute bitch to assail from the sea. It's an absolute bitch to assail from land. And it's an absolute bitch just to get around. Like, because it's a bunch of peninsulas sticking out from the land, right? Like, getting from one place to another sucked. There's video of someone running a ferry service just to, like, move people from one spot to another.
Well, wouldn't that have been your thing as a logistics guy?
I probably would have done that had I been a colonial in this war, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was running a little ferry.
Mm-hmm. You're holding this territory. They're holding.
Yeah, they were. I was a warden. Yeah, I was a warden. These are the colonials, right? The colonials were able to hold on to the Fingers.
So it was a geographic kind of stalemate.
Right. It was really hard to push, especially with early game tech. As wars go on, more and more technology gets unlocked, bigger weapons. And as it started out, right, with the basic stuff that we had, it was really hard to take, just geographically speaking.
So when they, like, wiped the slate so to speak, you have to like start the skill tree over again, I guess.
Correct.
And you're saying we're building up to things that would have helped you take that from them or prevent them from the shenanigans that they were doing. It almost sounds like
Ideally.
guerrilla warfare.
Yes, very much so. Absolute pain. Lots of choke points. Very few points, even from the sea or land, that you could get into the fingers. So you might ask, why would you want the fingers? Well, it's, like I mentioned, great place for partisans to use as a jumping off point. You send people out, right, and then you go and disrupt production. And Endless Shore was home to everything that you need for production, but most importantly, they had Endless Shore had a mass production factory. Some buildings, some key buildings like mass production factories, regular factories, refineries, those buildings are placed at the start of the war. New ones cannot be made, and they cannot permanently be destroyed. They can only be neutralized and captured. That is a little bit of a lie, but, some people are probably going, but wait a minute, don't worry, that's a plot point. We'll get to it. For now, what you need to know is that these new mass production factories and refineries cannot be made. They are placed at the beginning of the war. You've got what you've got, and if you lose it to the enemy, then you're not getting it back, unless you can retake it.
Yeah, and then they can use it once they get it.
Right, exactly. That is very astute. Historically, the first side to lose a mass production factory loses the war. Because when the other side captures a mass production factory, not only are you taking away production,
now they have two.
It means that you're shortening the production. You're shortening the supply lines. So suddenly, you don't have to ship supplies from all the way in the back line. You have it all right there. And so it allows you to continue pushing harder.
So this is why the Wardens couldn't just ignore the fingers.
Right.
And just basically focus on the rest of the map.
Right.
Because that Endless Shore production entire thing could have fallen into their hands.
Right, exactly.
You got to prevent that from happening at all costs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Not only are these backline hexes home to main production, it's also home to player-made facilities, right? There are player-made facilities. You can take resources, refine them, and make them into more advanced things that come a little bit later. But even from the beginning, you want to be setting up and preparing. You want to start production early. That's what I did, actually. I was involved in facilities in Endless Shore. And everything in a player-made facility can be destroyed very easily compared to a factory or a mass production factory. Those are going to take full-scale invasions, but player-made facilities are very vulnerable to partisan attacks. So this is where things start to get a little funny. The Colonials quickly realize, hey, wait a minute, the fingers isn't falling. And in fact, a coalition who had declared a break war kind of started side-eyeing it. And they realized, they were going to take a break, but then they realized, oh, what if we make the fingers our project for this war? So suddenly, you have this coalition that's supposed to be a coalition of many different regiments, by the way. So we're talking lots of players, right? Possibly hundreds, at least hundreds, if not over 1,000. They say, we're going to hold the fingers. That's our project this war. So suddenly, a huge percentage of the Colonials is just holed up in the fingers. And they declare themselves the Free State of the Fingers. So the Free State of the Fingers is right next door to the production hub of Endless Shore, and so, naturally, they start launching attacks. Why not, right? It makes perfect sense to destroy player facilities, including the one I was working at. Profoundly annoying. And you just never knew when they were going to come and annoy us, right? Another thing that made the fingers really annoying was that the fingers had every kind of resource that it needed to be self-sufficient. Not necessarily a ton of it, and it was an absolute pain to actually move everything but you could do it. It required extra manpower to do it. It certainly wasn't efficient, but it was possible. It meant that the fingers could survive all on its own, just sequestered away. Now, it wasn't going to be able to launch the large-scale assaults that it would have been able to had it had access to the resources of the rest of the colonial production, but still, it was enough.
So it sounds like their goal was just to be annoying.
Yeah.
Just to be as annoying as possible. And it was hampering the war effort because you couldn't put resources into helping out, the front lines in the West there, because you had to be constantly worried about these goons coming in and messing up your shit.
Well, that's what everyone thought at first. But pretty quickly, everyone working in Endless Shore figured out that the free state of the fingers was way more of a liability to the colonials than it was to us, the wardens. Because Endless Shore was a production hub, but there's no reason that people doing production couldn't just pick up a gun. And it meant that since there were always people doing production in Endless Shore, it always had people ready to defend it, right? And it didn't take any extra effort to be vigilant there. You didn't have to post guards. Just people were doing production, and if someone came to be annoying, everyone picked up a gun and went and dealt with them.
So this sort of seems like a case of you had a bunch of players get this idea in their head where they almost turned it into a meme, and they were like, we're going to put tons of, man hours and resources that probably could have been spent better elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Into just doing this thing that we've just fixated on that's really not that productive. It's very similar to something that happened in Helldivers. Do you remember the Malevelon Creek thing?
This absolutely destroyed you. I remember you talking about this. Please, go on.
Because, in Helldivers 2, very popular game, I'm sure everybody here is aware of it, the devs will give major orders. It's their DMing, right? And there was this period, it was pretty early in the game's life, it was just a couple months after it had been put on sale. There was this one planet in particular, again, there's a big galactic map. All the players have to, quote-unquote, democratically decide where they're going to go attack and things like that. It's really just up to you. You log on to the game, you decide where you're going to put your effort into for your play session. You do a couple of operations, and then there's a little tiny couple, like maybe 1/4% movement to say you liberated and or defended a planet. But
unless you're a bug diver, then
see, this was the opposite. This was the same issue, but the opposite. Because for some reason, a bunch of the players became obsessed with this one planet on the bot front. There's the two factions in the game at the time were the bugs and the bots, called Malevelon Creek. All of the oversized portion of the player base just became absolutely single-mindedly, laser-focused, obsessed on liberating this one planet. It made no sense. The devs didn't tell them to do that. We don't know where that came from, where a bunch of people just somehow simultaneously got obsessed with liberating this planet.
I think it's because Malevelon Creek sort of resembles Vietnam.
It's blue.
And?
It's like a kind of a jungle biome. But anyway, the issue with this was that the DMs, the developers, were giving major orders on bug planets, but you just had I don't know, it was probably at the time, probably 50 to 60% of the player base was completely ignoring them so they could liberate this irrelevant planet on the other side of the map that had again, a really high resistance rate, because the planets have different, if you want to look at it like defense points, how difficult,
right? Yeah.
How many successful operations you need to actually achieve anything there. And it was astronomically high, and they were just throwing themselves against this brick wall, achieving absolutely nothing for what I think was months, while it
was a long time.
The actual major orders that the devs were giving the players were failing again and again and again and again.
The devs were like, what are we supposed to do?
They genuinely probably were perplexed. How do we get them to stop? And then I think the way they eventually solved it was by making a major order that was liberate Malevelon Creek. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So just and then because then once it was liberated, they couldn't fight there anymore, and then they had to go focus on other shit.
As an Eternal GM, I know this feeling where you put in a throwaway NPC, and then the players get single-mindedly obsessed with this random NPC who just is meaningless, right? But it's like, well, the players like him. I guess I gotta make him a character now.
Yeah.
And you have to come up with bullshit on the fly, right? Like that is the classic RPG problem.
I don't envy the job of a DM or a GM or whatever, because, you're trying to make sure everybody has a fun time, and you don't want to railroad them, because I think you know when you're being railroaded and it feels like shit.
Right.
It's like it's got to be such a fine line to walk when you do something like that, right? And you're always going to end up, you're not ever going to be able to make everybody happy, and it's like, I don't know. Tough gig. I don't know what I would have done. I guess I would have did. I mean, they found an elegant solution. I don't think it's what they wanted to do, but they did solve the problem in Helldivers anyway.
Yeah, you kind of just got to accept it, right? Like, oh, this is what the players are going to do.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, modify your plans to accommodate it. But it sounds like the Foxhole devs were a little bit. They're too hands off for that.
Oh, absolutely. They are very, very hands off, as much as they possibly can be. The only times that they tend to step in are when there are game issues. Right? Like maybe there's a huge server crash or something, and they're like, okay, we don't want this to have decided a major theater of the war, right? So we're going to get on it. Don't ask me for a history of it. Don't ask me for like, oh, do they favor one side or the other? Because everyone has opinions about that kind of shit. But in general, they are hands off. They do not have an idea for how it should go. Sometimes maybe just a little bit at the beginning of the war, like the Colonials were probably supposed to lose the fingers, for example, and that just didn't happen.
Right.
But when the Colonials managed to hold the fingers, they said, well, congratulations, you now have the fingers.
Yeah, they were hands off the fingers.
Haha.
This doesn't even make sense.
So, you did absolutely touch on something very important, because the most valuable thing in the game isn't any resource, it's man hours. And getting anything done in the fingers or launching any raid from the fingers always cost way more in man hours than anything they were going to accomplish. Just because Endless Shore always had people there. And everyone learned to always make sure to have a gun. That's all it took, was just taking a look at the map every so often and saying, oh, some dudes are coming, right? Like, we can see them on our intel. Let's go take care of it. It was more of an annoyance than anything else. Yeah. But everyone kind of accepted, actually, this is probably good, because there were more people in the fingers than in Endless Shore in our backline. So they're clearly spending way more manpower in order to keep the fingers going than we're spending just to do the thing that we were going to be doing anyways.
The irony of the free state of the fingers is that it ended up being quite expensive for them. It wasn't free at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were a lot of people who were very angry. Very, very angry. It's like, get out of the fingers and get to the front line and do something useful. And what's important to note, as time was going on, right, the Wardens weren't even doing well, even with the fingers.
Right.
The Wardens were not doing well. The Northern Theater was very gradually crumbling after a week. We were obviously on the back foot. The South, ironically, it was the South that was holding, despite the presence of the fingers, while the North was being pushed in.
The fingers, the thing wasn't really hurting them, it looks like, from this map.
You would think, but after a while, the progress comes to a standstill. There is almost no progress being made one way or the other after a while. The Colonials are obviously very frustrated. They were saying, hey, if you just come to the front line, maybe we can actually close out this hell war. But they just wouldn't, because the people in the fingers, they had declared independence.
Yeah, it's gamers.
And they were not giving it up.
You got gamers. Again, they didn't even pick a good name.
It's the Malevelon Creek of Foxhole.
Yeah, it's you see this psychology repeated in so many games.
Endlessly.
Like this it's stubbornness. It's some kind of like mass stubbornness that just takes root in like a certain percentage of people playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's an observable
absolutely.
phenomenon that should be studied. You know, like what is that? It's like a mass zeal,
hysteria,
fervor. You don't want to call it hysteria because it has a goal, it has a purpose. It's more like a obsession, right?
Yeah.
And again,
And
just
it's
to great detriment.
I love
they
this.
They don't even necessarily care about the outcome. It almost reminds me of some of the people like in the Goon Squad from EVE Online.
In EVE Online, yeah, their goals are quite different from everyone else's, right? Like everyone else is trying to, make a profit, they're trying to like achieve a goal. The goons just wanted to be a pain in everyone's ass.
Just chaos. I think in that case was just chaos.
Goon Swarm. We're talking early days of Goon Swarm, yeah. But yes, you wouldn't expect that kind of psychology in a game where it's one side versus another. It's just a war, right? Like between two sides, but you get it.
Yeah, I think that these gamers are never put anything past them. They're capable of like any kind of unfathomable stupidity. Like this is the type of thing where I don't think the developers of this game could have ever anticipated something like this happening.
I doubt it.
Players will always find a way to subvert like what you think they'll do or what you want them to do. Like you do hear game devs talk about this sometimes in interviews and stuff where they're like, yeah, we were just surprised. We just never thought anyone would do that.
Right.
We were just shocked when we found out someone did that. Why would someone do that? Right? Like just
I will say that I believe that the developers intended the fingers to be a holdout location.
Okay.
I don't think that they intended for the free state of the fingers.
No. And again, I would have went with Fingertopia, Fingervania, Finger something. Again, the name feels uninspired to me.
I think it was called the free state of the fingers because there was a strong sense of defiance among the fingers, right? At first against the wardens who were trying to take it.
But then against their own faction.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're against their own fucking faction.
Because they're like, guys, like literally everyone wanted them out. The wardens wanted them out because they were a pain in the ass. The colonials wanted them out because that was manpower that could have been spent doing something far more productive. And they just said no.
It's as if you had a number of people who forgot what game they were playing. Like you had several hundred people who kind of forgot the point, like what the game even was. It's as if like you were watching a tennis match and one of them started dribbling the tennis ball.
I kind of like this.
And trying to shoot it over the net like with their bare hands. Like it's like that is not the game you're playing. What are you doing? And it was hundreds of people doing it at once. It is.
Well, I would agree with that with one caveat. It's doubles, and one of the doubles partners starts doing it.
Yeah, right. And the other guy's like, wait, what? And the other team is like,
right.
The other team is like, yeah, we'll take this. Okay,
what are
sure.
You doing?
Yeah, we'll
say it. Oh, okay.
And we're going to keep playing tennis.
We can't stop you.
You just keep. Your guy can do that, sure.
So that kind of becomes the general state of affairs. We end up with a standstill, and recognizing that the people in the free state of the fingers aren't going to give it up, they decide on a specific course of action, rather than just sort of leaving their orphaned brethren and resigning them as wasted effort. They start pushing along the south of the map to try to link up the fingers with the rest of the colonial territory. This is obviously going to be difficult because the closer you get to an opponent's backline hex and production hub, the shorter their supply lines become, and the easier it becomes for them to supply their front. A lot less manpower, a lot less time has to be spent with people in trucks and freighters and trains moving stuff forward, right? So which means that they can spend that time doing another shipment or doing anything else. And so this plan is difficult, but they recognize that it's their best bet if they are going to actually get these people doing something productive.
I mean, the only way you're going to really achieve, I mean, sure, you can make a bridge or whatever they're trying to do there, but unless you change their psychology, you're not going to achieve anything. That's the problem, isn't
Well,
it?
you gotta make it so that the fingers are no longer a front line. You have to make it so that it's no
this is
longer
their way
bordering warden territory.
of saying, because once that's not the case anymore, they'll be forced to put their efforts elsewhere.
Right, exactly, and they are correct. I believe that this assessment was correct.
They had to basically fight their own faction in a way.
Basically,
amazing.
their hands were kind of tied, and remarkably, they managed to do it. And hats off to the Colonials for achieving something very difficult. At first, they only are able to weasel a little bit of supplies along the southern border, but eventually they manage to completely take the hex of Reaver's Pass, which allows the backline of the Colonials to start shipping resources to the Fingers in considerable quantities. At first, it's just for a few days at a time, but as time goes on, it becomes much, much more consistent, and Endless Shore goes from being a backline hex to a frontline hex.
Yeah, which is not an ideal scenario for the Marines. Why do I keep forgetting with the Wardens? Christ.
The Wardens, yeah. The Marines, because they're blue, right?
I think so. I don't know. I'm senile.
So, the Fingers manages to use these materials to lash out at the other ocean hexes into Tempest Island and even eventually taking territory in Godcrofts. But because of just the nature of these island hexes, it's kind of pointless. It doesn't really achieve very much. But this flow of materials also means that the Fingers can start launching bigger raids on Endless Shore, right?
Well, I don't know, does it? Theoretically?
It's still just annoying, right? It's still just annoying. This is largely...
It's not a real threat. Yeah.
No, it never is. And even then, right, you have to consider that when someone launches a raid, not only are they spending their own time doing this fighting, they're also using equipment that required a lot of man-hours to make.
Yep.
And this problem is actually exacerbated once the Fingers is linked up with the rest of the backline for the Colonials, because now extra man hours have to be spent shipping everything to the Fingers.
It had like the opposite effect that they were intending. So it in any words, it just emboldened them and gave them more resources to waste.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh my God.
Like the supply line, the supply line from the back line of the colonial territory to the Fingers is just obscene.
Yeah.
So this just gets worse, right? Like think about Hawaii, right? Like everything is more expensive in Hawaii because it has to be shipped from the mainland.
Good.
Like you're paying for
analogy,
the transport.
Yeah.
It's the exact same problem because so little can be produced in the Fingers itself.
The other play would have been to actually go full hard. I mean, but then they probably would have ended up losing ground elsewhere. But putting like full resources into taking Endless Shore so it can just be over. From the colonial perspective at large.
Well, they were trying, right? Like taking Reaver's Pass, and then like they could use Reaver's Pass to push into Endless Shore. This was absolutely a goal, a general goal from the Colonials.
It became a general.
Yeah.
A general.
It was,
okay.
especially when they took Reaver's Pass and they could actually start pushing into this backline. Part of the problem is just that, again, the supply lines were so short, but it's compounded by the fact that the Wardens are particularly good on the back foot. I don't know what it is. Don't ask me why. Because the Colonials and the Wardens have access to all of the same entrenchments and defensive emplacements, the Wardens are just really good at holding territory. I couldn't tell you why. Like, I'm sure that there's some history to it, but they're very good at making concreted defenses, and they're also very good at defense in depth.
It's the people playing the game. It's not some item that they have access to or some mechanic of the game.
Right.
It's the skill of the players.
And also just their tendencies, because this tendency isn't as pronounced on the Colonial side. It's there, but not nearly to the same degree as the Wardens. For the Wardens, you have people from the start of the war making layer after layer after layer of defenses, way back in the midline and even on the back line just in case. So if they have to fall back, they can fall back right away. And it's not a huge issue, right? Like, they'll just continue defending, and it's awful. It is awful trying to take Warden territory. But now, with all of these resources flowing into the fingers, large ships have been teched, right? And this was a recent addition. There are now, like, destroyers, there are battleships, right? There are ships that can be used for combat, and now we can start bombarding Endless Shore, and we can actually do lasting considerable damage, right?
The way that you said that makes me think that
No.
That wasn't the case.
No. Very much not. Any of the serious facilities were built far enough inland that these large ships could not easily bombard them, including, like, the facility that I was working at, right? The defenses were strong enough, the outer defenses were strong enough, and then everything that was farther, like, every important production building was far enough inland that the battleships weren't going to be able to bombard it. So every time people start thinking and hoping that the fingers could possibly be relevant, it just isn't up to this point. There are some cool naval engagements, but unfortunately these naval engagements just don't have a huge impact on the war.
It just ends up being it's a boondoggle. It's a quagmire.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a
So,
man, these are some funny words they have for this, huh? It's,
yeah, right.
It's foobar. There's more of this. Help me out.
Let me think. Boondoggle,
Yeah.
foobar. Like, those are really good
Boondoggle
ones.
and quagmire are the two big ones.
Yeah.
Do me a favor.
Those are the S tier. We should get a tier list. Make a
Entertain
tier
me for
list.
a second.
Okay.
Synonyms. Yeah, let's go to, like, thesaurus.com. We're gonna go stupid mode. I'm gonna type in boondoggle. We don't get actually. You know what is not a synonym for boondoggle? Is apparently quagmire. What? Wait a minute.
What?
Quagmire. All right. So this we have
Well, quagmire is a metaphor. Like, it's metaphor. Something is metaphorically a quagmire, because a quagmire is something
well, a
that already
quagmire
exists.
is like basically quicksand or something. Like actually.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, I have the dictionary page.
Yeah, soft,
it's like
miry
a
land.
quicksand. But, again, in the metaphorical sense, it is dilemma, entanglement, impasse, predicament, quandary. Listen to this one. Ready? Imbroglio. That's like a kind of a pasta.
Imbroglio.
Imbroglio.
Yeah, that does sound
No,
like a
I don't
pasta.
think I'm pronouncing that
Yeah,
right.
something the futurists would hate.
Imbroglio.
The futurists would hang you if you use that word.
The imbroglio. It makes you stupid and lazy and fat and dumb, Fred. And also, Ryan, I gotta use the bathroom. So right where I said Fred's name, cut, and I'll be back in like 2 minutes. This will be real quick. Okay. All right, sorry guys, I'm back.
Hey there. So, despite the absolute boondoggle that is the fingers, the colonials are still gradually, and I mean very gradually, pushing across the map. There is a general sentiment among the Warden faction that we probably are going to lose this one. Just the colonials are putting so much constant pressure everywhere, and Endless Shore eventually goes from being a backline to very frequently like assailed itself.
Yeah, it's a contested space.
Yeah, that's not what you want your backline hex to be. Like, yes, it is easier to defend, but it means that it's under threat.
Kind of almost seems like the finger thing like paid off and you guys got fingered.
Well, we are approaching the moment where it most likely could have mattered. This war goes on for a month, and finally, the most destructive technology in the game is researched. Nukes.
They got nukes, huh?
Nukes, yes. Nukes in Foxhole are single-use bombs fired from a silo, which must also be built, but the silo can be reused. You just have to keep making new nukes. Now, to be clear, nukes are a massive resource investment.
I'm sure. They should be, as they should be.
Yeah, they are.
You have to, like, enrich uranium and shit?
You got to do... It takes a lot of very difficult-to-procure materials. Very obnoxious to procure materials as well. When you do make a nuke, however, and you load it up into a silo, everyone in the game is informed, and a timer starts. When the timer... And the location that is going to be hit is announced as well. When the timer ends, the nuke is launched, and it destroys anyone and anything in a pretty large radius.
So there's like an early warning system for nuclear strikes. Like, it's server-wide. Everybody knows it's going to happen.
Yes. And it gives the people being targeted on the receiving end a chance to go and destroy the nuke before it can be launched.
It's kind of bullshit, isn't it? I mean, if I'm gonna nuke somebody, how are they gonna know there's a nuke coming? I mean, maybe you get, okay, a nuke was... I mean, just in reality, a nuke is launched, you get maybe minutes to react. It's an ICBM. They go very, very, very fast.
Well, this is... Remember, this is like interwar period tech level. Right.
We can kind of fill in the lore by saying there was a spy or something.
Just shrug, whatever. Right. It's game mechanics.
Sure. Okay.
It is game mechanics.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, there is an important caveat to this whole destroying everything in a radius thing. Nukes are able to permanently destroy MPFs, the mass production factories, as well as refineries, factories, town halls. If you hit a town hall with a nuke, it no longer supplies a victory point.
Oh, wow.
And the overall required number of victory points to win is reduced for the rest of the war.
Wow. So it'll basically, it makes a hex completely irrelevant.
It can, yes. And because the fingers, you have to fire a nuke from within a 1 hex distance. And guess what? The fingers is right there. So suddenly, after a month, the fingers has a chance to be relevant. And not only is it next to Endless Shore, but the fact that it is nigh impenetrable means that any nuke that is built there is really, really hard to stop. So...
Right, on account of the geography.
Right.
You won't be able to go in there and disable the silo or something.
Right, it's very hard. And
you guys had been trying and failing to get in there for an entire month at this point.
Right, and there have been a lot of attempts. Some attempts were thwarted by server goofiness. You know, who's to say if the fingers would have fallen had the server not messed up so badly and sort of stymied some of these assaults. But, you know, shrug. We can look at this in hindsight.
So some of it was actually tech stuff.
Some of it might have been tech, right? Like, it stymied attacks. But, you know, who's to say whether or not these attacks would have had very much lasting damage if they actually would have defeated the fingers? Who knows, right? Hard to know for sure.
But the fact remains that for pretty much over a month, the fingers was uninvaded.
Yeah. Like, it could not be taken, right? Like, it still was under attack from more, like, normal means, and it still held out for that entire time. Now, nukes are teched. The Colonials secure a passage to the fingers through Reaver's Pass and smuggle in the resources to make a nuke silo, and they smuggle in a nuke.
They smuggle the nuke in right in there, huh?
Yep.
They get it right in there?
Yep. They nestled it
Yellow cake? Yellow cake uranium?
Yeah.
You ever have yellow cake?
I mean... The fingers didn't have a whole lot of resources, so they probably weren't eating well, and you need to eat well if you're going to get caked up.
Yeah. So I'm asking if you have ever had yellow cake.
Oh, what? Oh, yellow cake like uranium or like yellow cake the cake? Because yellow cake the cake basically does what yellow cake uranium would do to my insides anyway.
What, are you lactose intolerant?
No, it's just, I don't know what it is. I eat yellow cake from like Costco or Walmart or whatever, and it always makes me feel disgusting.
I didn't even know it existed. Well, what is it? It's fucking lemon? What is
no,
it? What is
it's
yellow
just
cake?
like your basic ass cake that you get from, I don't know, like
It's
in
like
a box at the grocery
Entenmann's?
store, right? Probably had a lot of it when you were a kid. It just was always yellow. I remember it always being yellow.
I have a distinct memory of some low quality, mass produced yellow cake.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody says talking about like building nukes, I have a very visual mental image of this cake.
Yeah, right?
You know, and I'm like, does that mean, man, should I have been eating that?
Right. It's like maybe they add some fondant on this yellow cake uranium. It's like, for you, Wardens, happy birthday. Like, no, happy 1 month anniversary of this fucking war.
I'm a fucking idiot. I'm sorry I interrupted you. So they smuggled a nuke into the fingers. The Colonials were able to do that.
Yes. And they were able to set it up, not just one, but two.
Oh, wow.
Now, they manage to launch these nukes, right? An attempt is made to destroy it, but it's thwarted by server goofiness, and the nukes are launched. Now, of course, as you would expect, the main target is the mass production factory, right? They don't steal it. They just say, okay, we're just going to wipe it off the map, right? And this is a questionable tactical decision.
In the sense that they could have commandeered it.
Right, but they decide this has gone on for too long, right? And Endless Shore is an absolute bitch to crack. So they just say, we're just going to wipe it off the map, right? Like, we're going to wipe off the production. We're in untrod territory because in the past, I do not think up to this point that a mass production factory had ever been nuked. Typically, it always was too much of a prize, right? You just take it.
Because in the history of this game.
In the history of this game, to my knowledge, up to this point,
Yeah, wow.
a mass production factory had never been nuked because you want it, right? You want to take it. But
Yeah,
and typically the first faction to lose a mass production factory has lost the war, but that always was with the presumption that the other side was taking it. Now,
right.
The Wardens were down an MPF, but the Colonials weren't up an MPF.
So they did nuke it then?
Yes, they did. They did. And now this mass production factory, like the mass production factory was down.
That was the one you worked there?
Yes, I was working in this town.
When it got nuked?
Yes, the city was called Saltbrook Channel. Right? The topology of the map always stays the same. It's just, the starting position.
I mean, did you flee, or did you just, die in the nuclear hellfire?
Well, here's the thing. To my memory, the factories were still... we lost the mass production factory, we lost the factories, but there was still a refinery, and there was still a seaport that made moving supplies easier, so we just stayed. Right, I was in a facility. I wasn't doing basic logistics. They didn't hit our facility, so...
You just lived in the fucking radiation.
We just said, well, I guess we just keep producing.
You didn't get nut cancer or something?
I don't know, man.
Well, time will tell, I guess.
Well, we'll get to that, actually.
Oh. We
will kind of get to that. Because this spawns a meme.
There should be consequences to living in radiation, yeah.
This kind of spawns a meme, but we'll get there.
I mean, I don't know if the game has that mechanic.
So, with the reduced supply lines, assaulting Endless Shore becomes a lot more possible, but the people working facilities are still there, so they just keep working. And the basic logistics, right? The producing the guns and the ammunition, all of that, none of that can happen anymore because the factories and the mass production factory are destroyed. But other production is still happening. So we just stay. And the Colonials very quickly Endless Shore becomes a front line, and it becomes a lot harder to sustain the fight. And so the Colonials push in. Endless Shore is now a front line. About a week passes, and they just can't crack it. They can't do it. Even with the lengthened supply lines, Endless Shore is still holding. Because the Wardens are just really frustrating assholes. The Wardens are particularly good on defense. Offensively, sometimes they stumble, but defensively, the Wardens are excellent. This mostly just makes the Wardens mad. And the Colonials, they take Reaver's Pass, but they just can't push in. So what do the Colonials do? They don't launch one. They don't launch 2, they launch 3 more nukes.
So they've just this whole time have been cranking out nukes.
Yeah.
They've been continuing to manufacture. Okay. Don't tell me they used all 3 of them on Endless Shore.
They made a couple of other nukes, but the majority of nukes land in Saltbrook Channel, in the city.
This is your city. So your little city got nuked 5 times.
5 times. Yeah. I believe it was 5 times.
And then it eventually fell, and they were able to take it. There was nothing left of value in it at that point, surely.
Well, after these nukes land, there is no longer any strategic purpose to Endless Shore. However, it is still territory.
It still has a town hall?
No, the town hall is rubble. No, that thing is not coming back.
All right. So that's...
And this is actually the point where my regiment decides to throw in the towel, right? Where we just say, hey, we're going to demolish our facility to make room for more defensive emplacements, because those are almost certainly going to be necessary.
Oh, so you're not leaving?
Like, we move backwards. Like, we do fall back. We're not fighters, right? Like, my regiment is logimen, so we do move to a new production
what it's starting to sound
hub.
like, though. It's starting to sound like that you and your regiment are infected by the same mind virus infecting the Finger people.
Well, that's the thing, Endless Shore is now a front line. It's not that... See, it's still an important line to hold, because that is a buffer between us and our new back line. So we still want to hold it. Right, we can't just leave it. Right, like this is still entrenched buffer territory. And we are going to have to fight through it anyways, one way or another, because they are still pushing north. And if we just let them push north, then we're going to lose our production hubs. And again, Wardens are particularly good at defense in depth. We lose a line, we fall back to the line behind it. We lose that line, we fall back to the line behind it. That is standard operating procedure in Foxhole. And it's something that the Wardens do well. There's no reason to give up good defensive territory. And all of this is already built up as well. May as well fight, right? May as well hold it for as long as we can. Now, you would think that 4 nukes to destroy any possible use case for Saltbrook Channel and a 5th nuke for good measure to destroy some of the defensive emplacements would be enough. They still couldn't take it.
At this point, you're not doing logistics anymore because there's nothing left.
We've just moved our production back. But we just moved farther backwards.
Okay, so you're still driving trucks and shit.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, it was during this war where one of my biggest footprints on this game occurs. But we'll get there. Now, we demolish our facility, we replace it with defensive emplacements, but it ends up not really being necessary because the Colonials still just can't push. It's inexplicable at this point.
Are they just bad at... Are these particular
group? I have no explanation.
Is this regiment just like... They just suck?
So, but I should note, it's not just my regiment, right? Like, it is a lot of people.
They're bad at the
it's never just one regiment in an area doing something,
well,
right?
Not your regiment. I'm saying the Colonial regiment at this point. Like, surely, yeah. I mean... They can't just mop up.
Well, it's never just one regiment doing an attack either, right? You often have people from multiple regiments just kind of there. You have random people who just are logging on and not associated with any group besides, either the Colonials or Wardens who are just there. They pick up a gun, they pick up a grenade, and they throw. It's a big group effort at all times. I'm going to level with you. I have no explanation for why they couldn't take Saltbrook. Like, by all accounts, they should have been able to. And this leads to a meme that the Wardens absorb radiation and it makes them stronger. Okay. Like, Wardens eat radiation.
Yeah.
Because...
Enriched yellow cake uranium.
Right, yeah. We
lots of vitamins in there.
Yeah, we are no longer blueberries. We are yellow cake. I do have a theory. So, as I mentioned, usually the starting conditions of a war are north versus south. This was peculiar in that it was made, southwest versus northeast. And Saltbrook Channel is not usually a backline production hub. What this means is that the layout of the city is not really built for production. Speaking as someone who did a fair bit of production in Saltbrook, it is a goddamn nightmare. There are 2 bridges that only are wide enough for 1 truck, and so we had to designate 1 bridge as southbound and 1 bridge as northbound. Very few, okay, actually a surprising number of people actually paid attention to those instructions, but a significant number of people did not, and all it took was 1 person going the wrong direction on a bridge to choke it up. And on top of that, all of the passageways were super narrow and annoying. We had to set up flow into the factories and out of them. The worst. The absolute goddamn worst. When Saltbrook Channel was nuked 5 times, and it was no longer capable of being host to any production, all of the Logimen just kind of looked at each other and said, "We're free." And suddenly, morale among the wardens shot up. Like, we don't have to make shit at Saltbrook anymore. And everyone just felt better. Oh, hey kitty, you're hungry, aren't you? Okay. I'll have to feed you in a minute.
Don't cut that out.
I'll have to feed you in a minute. Rebec's hungry.
Don't cut that out.
Hey.
Don't cut that out.
Cut that out.
Don't cut that out.
Cut that out.
Don't do it. Don't cut it out.
Don't do it.
So
yeah, go on.
So they were free to do what though? Now we have newfound freedom of this place that was not optimized for what we were using it for. Is kind of what I got.
Well, everyone just realized, well, it's now more optimal to be at to go elsewhere. If we still want to do logistics, we're just going to go to a different place, right? People were working at Saltbrook not because it was fun relatively, but because it was the ideal location to do production. Like you keep it working, right? Keep the factories working. Now, they didn't have to bother. And the fact that the Colonials could not take Endless Shore after nuking it 5 times meant that the Wardens were feeling pretty good, right?
Sure.
Like, they can't take us after nuking us 5 times. And if you're a Colonial...
I mean, we must be really good at this game.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and if you're a Colonial who says, like, we have been trying to take Endless Shore for over a month now, and we've nuked it 5 times, we have dumped untold resources into taking this hex, and we just can't do it? What's wrong?
Gotta be pretty demoralizing on the other end of it, sure.
Incredibly demoralizing. Oh yes, and I would like to make a little interjection here. This is something that I'm very proud of. My brother and I end up doing something that we call the Cnute Initiative. Cnutes are a heavy resupply truck. They are armored. They are armored with the same armor that tanks have, which makes them practically invulnerable to small arms fire, unlike typical resupply trucks. The problem is that they are an absolute pain to make, and so you don't see a lot of them on the front line. My brother and I set up a system to create large numbers of heavy trucks for the front line. This has a profound effect upon the logistics of Saltbrook Channel's frontline resupply. When we start delivering dozens of these trucks, people start taking them and using them. And I get the feeling, right? I talk to people and I hear that the logisticians are under fire frequently, but it's not a big deal because they're in an armored truck, and so it saves a lot of frontline deliveries. This is where perhaps my proudest gamer moment occurred. I was doing a stream with you. Like, I had joined you for a stream.
Okay.
You had gotten up to use the bathroom or something, and I just started offhandedly mentioning, like my brother and I started delivering heavy trucks to the front line in Saltbrook Channel and Endless Shore.
Uh-huh.
One of your chatters types in all capital letters, "That was you?"
I remember this.
To which I reply, "Yeah, are you liking the trucks?" The person said, "No, I'm a Colonial partisan. You have ruined the game for me. I quit." Like, I have stopped playing for the last few days because it's pointless.
Because of those trucks that you and your brother.
Yeah, because he is a specialist. He's a partisan. That dude was a partisan specialist. What he does is he slips into the back line and destroys resupply trucks to prevent frontline resupply.
But these are armored.
Because we had flooded the front with armored trucks, he couldn't do anything.
So let me get this straight. So what did you guys call it? The what initiative?
The Cnute Initiative, because that's what the Warden heavy truck is called.
So let me get this straight. There is a kind of truck in this game called a Cnute.
Yes.
And you and your brother Corey began mass producing these kinds of trucks, these armored trucks that are called Cnutes. When you and your brother's surname is Knudsen.
We have since...
Was this intentional? Was this...
No, it was a happy accident, but we are now known in-game as the Knudsen brothers.
That's what should have happened. Okay.
Yeah. But that is an epithet that we have been given.
Everybody knows you and Corey as that.
People call us the Knudsen brothers. Yes.
In-game. That's incredible. Yes. The truck has unfortunately since gone back to being an irrelevant thing.
Oh, no.
It seems like it was pretty much only useful in this one instance.
No, they are very good. Partisans are an ever-present threat. And in fact, our methods have been adopted and adapted and are still used today.
No, because I thought you had said that it was a kind of a truck that was like a pain in the ass to make and not worth it.
No, it's not that it's not worth it. It's that there were no techniques developed to make it worth it. We developed the technique.
But you developed the techniques.
Yes.
Wow.
The biggest problem is that they can't be... Okay, I'm going to nerd out a little bit. Bear with me. They can't be packaged, which means that they can't be shipped in any large quantity, right? Compared to other vehicles, which can be packaged and put on, like, a freighter, for example.
Larger vehicles.
Yeah, and they can't be packaged. They have to be painstakingly driven one at a time from the production hub to their destination. We innovated by setting up temporary production hubs on the front line, and then shipping the materials needed to make them there, so that way we could compress them, right? Like, we sort of ship them forward in a compressed, incomplete state because we could move more stuff that way. We could move more of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was our thing. And then once we were done, we'd tear down the production pads and bring it all back home. It's very efficient, and a modified version of it is used today.
What is the reason why you can't ship them, though? Is because their size, or is it just like an arbitrary...
Because the devs are assholes.
It sounds like they thought it'd be OP or something. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean...
balance thing, maybe.
Considering that that my brother and I made someone rage quit, right? And we had a small team as well, like of other players who were helping us as well. But given the fact that our small team was making people on the other side rage quit, I would say that perhaps that limitation is deserved.
Yeah, I was right. There might have been a logic to it.
So anyway, my E-peen grew 3 sizes that day.
Some say it continues to grow to this day.
It continues. Like the more heavy trucks are out in the world, the larger my nuts grow.
One day it'll leave. Oh, we were saying peen. I was going to say one day the peen will catch up to the nuts.
Yeah, well, I need to keep making heavy trucks. So it's at this point that a lot of the colonials are starting to get pretty pissed off at the free state of the fingers. They have managed to take every ocean hex, launch 5 nukes, and it was 6 nukes. Excuse me. I believe it's 6 nukes. But I did a little bit of research to prepare for this. I believe it was 6 nukes, and they gained nothing. Right, like they still weren't able to push into Saltbrook. We're like 40 days into this point, right? We're approaching day 40.
What is it? What is this? Civ 3 Gandhi? Civ 3 Gandhi would be so disappointed. He'd be rolling over in his grave.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Be so ashamed.
After this 6th nuke is launched, the Wardens manage to stage a counteroffensive. Finally, this has happened a few times, and what I have heard from people who are on these offensives is that, well, at least this time, what I heard is that once the Wardens actually started to make gains in the north, they broke through the first layer of defenses, and they discovered nothing behind it. The Colonials had not taken any time or spent any resources to make any more considerable defensive lines, and what was there wasn't really added to for a long time. So as soon as any ground was taken, as soon as that first layer of defense was cracked, the Colonials folded like wet paper.
You know why that might have been the case? Because of all the, again, resources / time being pumped into the fingers earlier on.
Yeah, that... Now that you say it, I think you might be right.
Like, why wouldn't they be doing the obvious? Like, why wouldn't they? Because I'm assuming that, like, you guys were doing that.
Right.
Like, contingency, like, embattlements, right?
Right.
Like, places to fall back to.
Right. But this is kind of a consistent problem with the colonials, right?
You're saying they just didn't do that. It goes back to, like, the psychology of the way the people who play that faction.
Right. It's just different. I think part of the problem is that a lot of people were making facilities closer to the front line, and wherever you have a facility, well, that's less room for defenses.
Mm-hmm.
And so one possibility is that there were a bunch of facilities just in the back line that were leaving no room for defenses. Typically, a warden...
Well, it's like tiles, right?
Right.
It's tiles, like you place buildings on little tiles.
No.
No.
The hexes are just a convenient way to partition out the map.
I'm saying, like, when you're in a hex, when you're inside of a hex, when you're actually in a hex.
No, everything is actually very free reign.
Oh, no shit.
To build. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's very open. But that does mean that it's very easy to get in one another's way. And that is probably one of the things that happened in the back line of the colonials, along with just... This is a problem that has reared its head for the colonials more than once. It has happened multiple times now where the wardens are on the back foot for most of the war, and then suddenly they lurch forward and just crush the colonials in a few days. And I have heard people who fight be surprised at how weak colonial defenses tend to be once you crack that outer layer.
What's the win rate between the two factions?
It's pretty even, I think. It goes back and forth. Like, you see people complaining about balance, but it's pretty even. Like,
well, I mean, how could you really, if both sides are identical?
They're not identical, not exactly. Like, their equipment is different.
Oh,
no,
they're not.
There is asymmetry.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
There is asymmetry, but they get access to very similar stuff, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be clear, as the colonials start folding, there is still very, very little movement in the South. Like, the Southern theater stayed pretty much as it was for the entire 43 days. Like, people were fighting over the same rivers, the same little battlements, the same buildings. They got very familiar with it. To cap all of this off, at the end of the war, when the final victory point was taken, the Free State of the Fingers still stood.
Insanity.
They would not give it up. At no point in the war did the Fingers change hands. The wardens were able to take little bits of the Fingers a couple of times, but not for very long.
And then in a subsequent, so the wardens won.
Yes, the wardens did end up winning after over a month on the back foot.
But the Fingers, like, in this timeline, the Fingers is still a holdout.
Correct. Yeah, the Free State of the Fingers still stands.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's still a holdout little, what would you call it? Enclave, if you will. And in a subsequent patch to the game, they introduced the circumnavigation, meaning that you could have attacked the Fingers from basically the east of it, meaning that if that existed, none of this would have happened.
Realistically, what would have happened is the wardens would have just taken all of the island hexes in the west, right? They would have gone around, they would have taken all of those hexes, and then they would have been able to assail the Fingers from there as well.
From the east, because it wraps around now.
Right.
Wow. What a fucking wild, I'll call it a wild tale of gamer stubbornness and frankly, idiocy. Or is it idiocy? Is it fervor?
It's
gamer fervor.
Well, I think that it's easy to get angry at them and to blame them for the colonials losing the war, and there is a reasonable argument to be made that way. But the people who were fighting at the Fingers, I will offer a counterpoint. The people who were fighting at the Fingers were from a coalition that was on a break war. A lot of those people probably would not have been playing had the Free State of the Fingers not been established.
It gave them something to do.
Right.
So you could just, well, I mean, you could say that, okay, so it wouldn't have had an impact really, because it's just there wouldn't have been anybody there to play. It didn't really make that much of a difference, but don't forget that they were siphoning resources, were they not, from the rest of their faction?
That's sort of the counterpoint to my counterpoint.
Yeah.
A lot of resources got funneled into the fingers, and it just ended up not amounting to anything. Nothing considerable, anyways. Nothing that seemed to have an impact on the war as a whole.
Yeah, there's a lesson in here somewhere.
It is possible that had the Northern Offensive not occurred when it did, that Saltbrook Channel would have fallen. I think there's a reasonable argument to be made, but it wasn't happening fast enough.
So how's your EP feeling after regaling us?
Oh,
with
it's
this
throbbing. Are you
your,
kidding me?
Of your of your Cnute virility.
Oh my god. I am the Genghis Khan of Foxhole.
Genghis Cnute.
Yeah. Just virile beyond belief.
This was an awesome story. I think that this, I mean, this brings us to the end of the saga.
Yeah, that's the end. The war ended, and then War 111 started next time. And my brother and I continued our project of the Cnute Initiative, making heavy trucks. And I don't know if there are any equivalent projects on the Colonials. The Colonials have a much cooler heavy truck. I love the Cnute, but like the Colonial heavy truck is just cooler and more fun to drive, because it has tracks, and so it kind of slides around. It's fun to slide around corners.
When will there be a third faction added to this game?
Never.
Would that break? Would that just break this? Would that just break the game?
It would probably break it. The game is not balanced around it. I feel like it would also break a lot of the fun of it. I think that the factionalism of the game is part of what makes it so much fun. I will say that the Free State of the Fingers was free in name only. However, the studio that makes Foxhole is currently working on another game in a similar style, except medieval themed, called Anvil Empires, which does away with the hex system, so you don't have to load from one hex into another, but it also gives you the opportunity to be unaligned, to my knowledge. That's my understanding of it. Like, if you want to just run a little farm, maybe have a deal with one of the sides.
That's just an MMO. That's just an MMO at that, like a regular MMO at that point.
It's kind of cool, right? Like,
I will be playing that game with you. If
you want to try it when it comes out?
I would love to try that. That sounds incredible.
It's really cool. If you ever want to try Foxhole as well, hit me up. Like,
maybe
Foxhole is healthier than it's ever been, right? Like, it's doing well. It's fun. It's like, I still love it. There's a lot of variance in the gameplay, right? It's very easy to say, I feel like doing something different right now, and then you go and do it.
Yeah.
It's great. There is nothing like it. There is nothing like Foxhole. And if you like the idea of, even if you are a fighter, you're someone on the front lines, the context of everything being made and shipped by players really gives the fights weight.
Yeah, you don't want to squander their efforts and the resources that they gathered and everything, and
right?
All the manufacturing they did, and it makes you think more about every bullet you fire, grenade you throw. It's like, no, another person did this. This wasn't just given to me by the game,
Right, and to be clear,
it is a wild thing to think about, actually.
Yeah, like a lot goes into making everything in Foxhole. Although I will say, if this puts you off, right, you're afraid of squandering resources, don't worry about it. It's always better to have another body on the front line, right? Like, even if your aim is terrible, it's still better to have another
it's cover
body,
fire.
Right? And if you're really that worried about it, don't grab a sexy gun, right? Like, just grab a grenade or two and then just run out to the front lines, right? You'll
just like Leroy Jenkins, that shit.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. Actually, okay, this does not pertain to the Free State of the Fingers at all, but there is a very popular early game tactic called a Mammon Rush. Both sides have access to a explode on impact grenade called a Mammon, and sometimes in the first, especially few hours of the war, but first few days especially, someone, usually a more experienced player, will shout to everyone in the area, because there are voice comms, there are local voice comms, and you can hear your enemies, I should note. You can hear enemies in local chat, so you can yell obscenities at the other side.
No shit.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
yeah. So someone will yell, "Everyone, grab a mammon, grab as many mammons as you can, and follow me." And so you'll get dozens of
the
people.
Zerg rush.
Yeah, you'll get dozens of people lumped up together, and then just run straight at the enemy lines and throwing mammons. Right? They just chuck them all. Sometimes it's used to destroy a building. More often than not, they just throw mammons at the enemy line and kill a bunch of people, and everyone dies. It's great. It's fantastic.
That's fun. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out with you one day.
It's very goofy. The fact that you can talk to other people locally makes for some very funny moments. Like, for example,
Does it?
If one of your opponents is hit but is dying, you can pick them up to pause their death timer, right? They'll be on the ground for 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
And a medic can come over and revive them, potentially, right? There are medical supplies. You can be a dedicated medic in Foxhole. But when someone is on the ground, you can hoist them over your shoulder, and that will pause their death timer. However, this is a sandbox, and you can grab enemy downed soldiers. So what'll happen is you can kidnap enemies and pull them over to your side and just, like, plop them on the ground.
Oh, man.
Or just keep them over your shoulder and suspend their death timer indefinitely.
That's like in Ark Survival Evolved. You put people in cages and keep them drugged. I have a story extremely similar to yours with the Epine thing.
We have to do
Ark.
You know what? Let's do a Warrens on that. Even if it's short, I would love. Even if it's like a really short one, I would love to do a Warrens because I know this story.
You know that I think you do know the story.
Yes,
that's right.
I do.
Yeah,
I've retold it a few times. It's amazing.
But yeah, that was. This is your story that makes your Epine big. This one's my. Yeah. My
you need a chance. Story. Yeah, you need a chance to share your Epine story.
And it has that, like, we made. I think, like, perhaps several dozen people rage quit the game.
It's so satisfying.
You know what I mean? It's one of those. Yeah, it is very.
Speaking as someone with a long history of playing PvP games, making someone else rage quit is very satisfying. Yeah. Like I remember playing League of Legends way back in the day, and I still remember this. I was a jungle fiddlesticks. I was like way back before any of the reworks, way back when it looked more like Warcraft 3 than anything else. I remember being a jungle fiddle, and I will never forget the all chat that one. Like I was killing people left, right, and center, right? Like I would appear, I'd murder a few people, and then I'd just disappear into the forest. And I just did this again and again and again. I will never forget one of the people on the other side in the all chat in the middle of the game said, "This fucking fiddle is everywhere." I still hold that close to my heart. That felt so good.
Does this make us like assholes?
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Bit,
no, we're
like
insufferable.
A little bit.
No, we are insufferable.
So, listen, Fred, I wanted to say thank you for having me on again. I think that I also want to thank you for doing we're doing an episode here where you got to talk a lot and I just got to listen, which was amazing timing, because do you hear my voice right now? My throat is fucked.
You were very tired and
right
so
now.
I was
my throat is like
tired.
Hamburger meat right now, so I was very grateful that that we did this like Fred story time episode. It was
fortuitous timing.
This was what I needed, so thank you. And thanks everybody for listening at home. Guys, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you enjoyed, right? Like this was very self-indulgent.
I think it's a great story.
It's still a really great story, right? Like
it's only self-indulgent to the point where, well, first of all, this is a special interest of yours, and secondly, it's the Epine thing was the Cnute truck was a small element of something larger. So I wouldn't say it was too self-indulgent.
Oh, okay. It's more self-indulgent because this is something that very much interests me, and I don't know how much it interests anyone else.
I think our audience will enjoy this story as much as they enjoyed, the EVE Online saga and the Bolt murdered stuff.
Right. Down the rabbit hole has I feel like I've had this every time I make a down the rabbit hole video, right? Like, people aren't going to be interested in this, and then I release the video and people are interested in it, and it's like, all right, cool.
Well, we'll definitely get the Foxhole enjoyers interested.
Oh, yeah. And that Foxhole video is coming. We just have a few things in between. Don't worry. People have been waiting on this for over a year. It's coming.
And maybe it'll be, maybe you can release this podcast, around the same time, and it'll be a little... Maybe like a double feature.
It'll be a while.
Something.
It's going to be a little while longer because there's another video that we need to release before that one.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Okay. Timing just kind of ended up working out that way. I can't say anything yet. I think that it'll make sense once you see. It's a topic that wasn't timely that suddenly became timely. And so this one makes more sense to release first.
Very interesting. How compelling. All right. Well, you want to sign off?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I hope you had a good time. This was just nice. It's been nice hanging out with you too, Mike. Just any excuse to hang out.
I always love hanging out with you, Fred. In fact, I wanted to, when we stop recording, I wanted to talk to you about some future plans for things.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Well, goodbye, everyone. Right. Thank you so much.
Jabroni Mike. Signing off. Love you all. Thanks for listening.
Take
Bye.
care.